I'm Jennifer, standing in the middle of this opulent birthday party, surrounded by 40 pairs of eyes. I feel a storm of emotions. My so-called mother, Laura, just grabbed the microphone and announced to everyone that I was adopted for tax benefits, that I never truly belonged to this family. Her words hit me like a thunderbolt, shattering the last shreds of hope I had for this so-called celebration. But what she doesn't know is that in my clutch, there's an envelope from my grandmother, Evelyn. The weight of it against my thigh is like a silent promise, a secret weapon waiting to be unleashed. Let me take you back to a month ago. I was at my desk at Thompson & Reed Design, poring over blueprints for a project that now seems so insignificant. It was a Thursday night, almost 8 p.m. My phone buzzed with an unknown number from the New York area code. Usually, I'd ignore it, thinking it was spam, but something made me answer. Miss Johnson, a man's voice, calm and professional, said, "My name is Henry Miller. I was your grandmother's attorney." I sat up straight in my chair. Grandma Evelyn had passed away 6 months ago. We'd had the funeral, read the will, and said our goodbyes. Why was her lawyer calling me now? "There's a matter I need to discuss with you in person. It concerns documents your grandmother left specifically for you," he continued. I was confused. The estate had already been settled. But he said this was separate, and that my grandmother had specifically instructed that no one else in the family should know about this conversation. Grandma Evelyn was the only one in this family who ever made me feel like I was part of something. At family dinners, when Laura would make those snide remarks, she'd squeeze my hand. Once, when I was crying in her garden, she whispered, "You belong here, sweetheart. One day, you'll understand." I never really understood what she meant. I agreed to meet him the next morning at 9 a.m. and he promised to text me the address. After hanging up, I sat in my dark office, lost in thought. Grandma Evelyn had secrets just for me. Part of me was scared, but a bigger part was eager to find out. That night, when I got back to my tiny one-bedroom apartment, I'd always rented alone because living with the family was never an option. My phone buzzed again. It was the family group chat. Laura had sent a message. "Big news. We're throwing Jennifer a 30th birthday dinner at the Plaza on Saturday the 15th at 7 p.m. Everyone's invited." I read it 3 times. The Plaza was one of New York's most exclusive restaurants. In 30 years, my parents had never thrown me a party like this. For my 18th birthday, I got a quiet family dinner with a grocery store cake and a blank card. Meanwhile, my sister, Lily, had a huge pool party with a DJ and a professional photographer when she turned 15. I stared at Laura's text. Something felt off, like there was a catch. But a small, hopeful voice in my head said, "Maybe she's finally changing." I replied with a "thank you," and Laura's quick response of "you deserve it, sweetheart," felt so foreign. The next morning, I went to Henry Miller's office. It smelled of old leather and expensive wood. He was exactly what you'd expect from an estate attorney, silver-haired, with wire-rimmed glasses. He placed a large, cream-colored envelope on the desk. It was sealed with wax and stamped with Grandma Evelyn's initials, E.J. "Your grandmother prepared this 5 years ago when she was in perfect health and of sound mind. She made me promise to deliver it only to you after her passing," he said. I touched the envelope, feeling the weight of secrets. Inside were a copy of her will, a personal letter, and a smaller sealed envelope that she'd instructed me not to open unless it was absolutely necessary. The will stated that Grandma Evelyn was bequeathing the Johnson estate, her beautiful mansion where all our family gatherings took place, to me. I was shocked. Laura had been decorating and maintaining that house for 20 years as if it were already hers. Henry assured me that it was completely legal, with 3 independent attorneys witnessing the signing and video documentation. I waited until midnight to read Grandma Evelyn's letter. In my dark apartment, with only a single lamp on and the distant hum of New York City outside, I unfolded the pages. Her handwriting was so familiar. "Dearest Jennifer," it began. "If you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry I wasn't brave enough to tell you some things when I was alive. First, know that I've loved you from the moment I held you. You were the light in a family that had lost its way. Second, I'm sorry I couldn't protect you better from Laura's meanness. Third, and this is the hardest part, you're not a random adopted child. You're my blood, my real granddaughter. The small envelope holds all the proof. But open it only when you're ready. I read it over and over. What did she mean? Laura had always made sure I knew I was adopted. But Grandma Evelyn said I belonged, and there was proof. I locked the smaller envelope in my safe that night, feeling that I'd need it soon. Unbeknownst to me, across town Laura was plotting. I pieced it together later from what Aunt Carol told me. Laura was pacing the living room, and Lily was on the couch, scrolling through her phone. I found out about the will today, Laura said, her voice tight. Your grandmother left the estate to Jennifer. Lily dropped her phone in shock. How is that possible? She asked. It's legal. She did it years ago behind everyone's back, and the will goes public in 2 weeks, Laura said, her hand shaking. The house, the land, everything. We need to act now. Lily frowned. What do you mean? The birthday party. With 40 guests, it's the perfect opportunity. Jennifer has spent 30 years trying to fit in. If we humiliate her publicly, she'll be too ashamed to show her face again, and contesting the will be much easier, Laura said, her eyes cold. Lily hesitated at first, but then Laura's words about the house being rightfully hers convinced her. They had no idea what Grandma Evelyn had left me, and they had no idea I was ready to fight back. A week before the party, I was at Saks Fifth Avenue, doing something I rarely did, buying a beautiful dress for myself. If this was really a birthday party, I wanted to feel like I deserved to be there. Get the sapphire one. It'll bring out your eyes, a voice behind me said. I turned to see Tom, my closest friend at work, grinning. He'd seen me through the window and knew I was overthinking. I told him about the lawyer, the will, and the letter. Not everything, not about being blood-related, but enough. Tom listened intently and then said, Jennifer, you've always fallen into your family's traps. If there's even a chance this party is another one, don't go in unprepared. Bring everything your grandmother left you. That night, I put the will, the letter, and the sealed envelope in the small clutch I'd bought. I told myself it was just in case, but little did I know how right Tom was. The night of the party at the plaza was a sight to behold. Crystal chandeliers sparkled, and the view of New York City was breathtaking. There were 40 guests, relatives I saw once a year, my parents' friends, and a few colleagues Laura had insisted I invite. Laura approached me in a long, black dress, her hug stiff and her smile fake. Thank you for all this, I said. You deserve it, sweetheart, she replied, that word sounding so hollow. Then my father, Robert, gave me a brief handshake and mumbled a happy birthday before retreating. Lily was in the corner, phone in hand, recording like I was some kind of exhibit. Aunt Carol flew in from California, which she rarely did. She hugged me tightly and whispered, whatever happens tonight, remember your grandmother would be proud of you. Before I could ask what she meant, a server called everyone to their seats. Dinner was fine at first. There was polite conversation, but I could sense something was off. Then Laura stood up, smoothed her dress, and walked to the small podium. She tapped the microphone and the room fell silent. Thank you all for coming tonight. We're celebrating Jennifer's 30th birthday, she said, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. 30 years ago, she came into our lives. We've supported her through school, through her career. We've loved her like our own. But then her tone shifted. But I think it's time we were honest. Jennifer isn't our biological daughter. We adopted her for tax benefits. The room exploded with gasps and whispers. I sat there, frozen, unable to move or breathe. Lily's laughter cut through the silence like a knife. Laura continued, so there it is. She was just a financial decision. But then I felt the envelope in my clutch. Grandma Evelyn's words echoed in my mind. I took a deep breath and stood up. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. Thank you, Laura, for that truth. But you're right. It is time for the real truth, I said. I reached into my clutch and pulled out the envelope. Laura's face went white. I began to tell the guests about the call from Henry Miller, the estate attorney, and how Grandma Evelyn had prepared the will 5 years ago. I held up the will and said, "This is a certified copy, witnessed by 3 independent attorneys." Grandma Evelyn left me the Johnson estate. The room erupted in whispers again. Laura tried to interrupt, saying it was impossible, but I cut her off. "It's entirely legal. I can recite the exact words if you want." I then pulled out Grandma Evelyn's letter and read it aloud. "You are not a stranger, Jennifer. You are my blood, the daughter of David, my firstborn son." Chaos broke out. "David? Who's David?" someone asked. Aunt Carol's voice cut through the noise. David was Robert's older brother. He passed away when Jennifer was 2. He had a problem with drugs, and our parents disowned him. When he died, Evelyn was heartbroken. He had a daughter, a 2-year-old Jennifer, who needed a home. I then pulled out the smaller sealed envelope. Inside were a DNA test result from 28 years ago and an old photograph. The DNA test confirmed that I was David's biological daughter. And there was more. David was not biologically related to Edward Johnson, the man listed as his father. It meant that the Johnson family had no blood claim to the estate. The room was in an uproar. Laura tried to fight back, saying the documents could be forged, but Aunt Carol stepped forward. "I have video of Evelyn signing the will, and I have the original DNA results in a safety deposit box." Robert finally spoke up. "Jennifer is my niece, David's daughter. She's always been family, and I'm sorry I let Laura treat her this way for so long." I looked at Laura and said, "You spent 30 years making me feel like I didn't belong, but I'm the one who actually does." People started to clap, and I knew that the truth was finally out. After that, Laura and Lily left the party in a hurry. Robert stayed behind to apologize to me. Aunt Carol hugged me and said, "Your grandmother would be so proud." The party, which was supposed to be a humiliation, turned into a celebration of truth. People I'd barely spoken to came up to me, offering their support. In the weeks that followed, Laura disappeared from her usual social circles. Lily lost a lot of her Instagram followers, and brands distanced themselves from her. Robert and I met at a coffee shop. He looked haggard, like he'd aged a decade in a week. He told me about David, how he was once the golden child, full of talent and promise until an accident led to his addiction. Our parents gave up on him, and Grandma Evelyn never forgave them or herself. She made Robert promise to take me in and raise me as his own, but he let Laura control everything. I didn't forgive him that day, but I knew it was a start. 1 month after the party, I made a list of boundaries. Laura, no contact, not welcome at the estate. Robert, limited contact, but open to rebuilding slowly. Lily, wait and see. Aunt Carol, real family, the kind I'd always wanted. I also made some changes to the Johnson estate. I converted Grandma Evelyn's bedroom into a memorial space, filled with photos of her, David, and me as a baby. And I established the David Johnson Memorial Scholarship Fund for kids aging out of foster care who wanted to study art or design. 6 months after the party, I held a memorial at the estate. It was a celebration of David and Grandma Evelyn, a closing of old chapters and the opening of new ones. The official launch of the scholarship made the local news. Standing at the podium, looking at the young artists who were the scholarship recipients, I said, "My father never got a second chance. I don't want any child to feel like they don't matter. These young people are the future, and they deserve every opportunity to shine." That night, sitting alone in Grandma Evelyn's room, looking at the photos and the flickering candles, I thought about everything that had changed. I lost the illusion of a loving family, but I gained truth, identity, and real connections. I picked up my phone and typed a note. Things I know for certain. 1. I am worthy of love, starting with my own. 2. I don't need anyone's permission to belong. 3. Boundaries are self-preservation. 4. The people who matter will choose me. Let go of the ones who don't. I saved it, blew out the candles, and walked out of the room, ready for my future. The house, which once made me feel like an outsider, now felt like home.